That is how Bates Motel should do a finale every year. Hey guys, it's Kevin again. This is my review for Bates Motel Season 3, well, the season finale, Season 3, Episode 10, Unconscious. And oh my god, guys, I could not wait for this episode. And this episode was just, holy shit, things are going to be insane next season. I mean, the direction that this season left us off with. Now, you guys remember, I really like last year's finale. The problem with last year's finale is that it was not this. This is what I wanted for last year's finale. Everything in this finale, this is what I wanted, and this is what I would have preferred that they had done. If they would have done something like this, I would have been so much more satisfied with the finale. This is how you do a quality Bates Motel season finale. Everything about this episode was amazing. By far, maybe the best episode of the entire show, honestly. This episode was huge, and I can't wait to see where this takes us next season, because holy shit, I mean, I did not see that ending coming at all. What an amazing episode. Let's just get into it. Now, I'm not going to review this episode like I review normal episodes of Bates Motel, because this episode has a lot more of events and a lot more things that happen, and things happen in a certain order. Now, while things did happen with Norma and Norman in the beginning, I'm only going to talk about Dylan and Emma in the beginning of this review. Then I'll talk about Romero, then I'll talk about Norman and Norma, because I want to get from least crazy to craziest. So let's get to Dylan first. So basically, Dylan finds this guitar on the table, and Dylan asks Norma where it came from, and she says it's from Caleb. He left it for him, and Norma tells Dylan that she has been looking into a mental hospital for Norman, and she's going to go visit, and basically Caleb left Dylan, and I can understand why he decided to do that. I mean, he really wanted Dylan to be safe. He knew what Dylan was doing was dangerous, and I can understand why he decided to leave Dylan. Plus, I mean, the whole thing with Chick last week, I mean, Dylan could have gotten seriously hurt, and the one thing that Caleb wants is for Dylan not to turn out like him, so the best way for him to do that is to leave. Plus, he knows that Norman doesn't really want him there, and that Norman would be upset if he stayed, so that could be the other problem why he didn't want to stay there. And I think that was a really well done scene, I have to say. Definitely was a very well done arc. At first I'm like, Caleb left, whatever, but I thought it was really well done the way they closed it. Honestly, it really was. I mean, these two have gotten really close, and the look on Dylan's face, I think he understood why. Obviously, he was a little bit pissed because it was just abrupt and he never told him, and plus Caleb was telling him that he might stay, and he told Dylan that he'd stay by his side. But things just got way too crazy, and I don't really think there was another alternative except for Caleb to leave. I honestly feel like that's really what had to happen, is that Caleb leaving is simply the only option available. I didn't think there really was another option, and looking back, it was probably the best thing to do. So, right away, we get to some really big stuff, and I really enjoyed seeing that, I have to say. I thought that was a great way to start the episode, and I love that. So, the next half of this episode, the first half of this episode primarily focuses on Emma and Dylan, because, of course, as we know, Dylan did get that money for Emma last week for her surgery, basically, for her lung donor. And basically, her father tells her right away that there's a lung donor available and that they must head to Portland right away. And Emma's kind of terrified of this, which is understandable why she's worried. I mean, she's really worried that her body wouldn't react well to the transplant. And I can understand why she's thinking this. I mean, who knows what could happen with this transplant. I mean, there could be some sort of side effect. It might not be an overall good liver. I like that she was freaking out about it. It was realistic, because if you really were in her situation, I mean, honestly, anyone would freak out over that. So I thought that was really good. And, she's really terrified of what's going to happen. So she flees her house, and she doesn't want to be monitored for the rest of her life and told what to do. And also, she doesn't want to worry about dying anymore, because now she has this opportunity. She really just wants to live her life to the fullest and not be worried about herself dying. So she actually ends up fleeing the house, and Dylan then finds her. And I thought it was really interesting that she did end up leaving, and I thought she was going to leave the show. Honestly, I thought that this season she was going to end up leaving the show at the end of this episode, but that's not what it seems like we're going, because they have this great scene. I loved this scene between Emma and Dylan. I thought this was great, because basically Emma's father calls Dylan and tells her he can't find her, that they need to get going if she's going to get her new lungs, and Dylan sets out to look for her. And her dad was trying to convince her that it'd be good and that she shouldn't worry about this. But, she's leaving her house because she wants to get her own new lungs, and she wants to do this on her own. And I like seeing that, but here's the thing. she really can't do this on her own. I mean, she's already not very healthy. She could end up hurting herself. I mean, I was very aware of what could happen to Emma in this scene. But Dylan and her have this amazing scene in this episode, which I absolutely love. Because Dylan's up on the farm and finds Emma standing near the water. Dylan tells her that she needs to get out of Portland, and Emma tells Dylan that she doesn't want to die. People reject new Lunds every day, and she's worried that that's really what her real fear is, that this Lund is going to be rejected, and that's not going to work out for her. And she doesn't want to waste what little time she has left on this earth. And I thought this was a great scene. Furthermore, she doesn't want to be poked and prodded, worrying every day if she's going to reject her new Lunds. So Emma apologized, and she can tell, I like that she, realizes that she's kind of being ridiculous, because honestly, she is. I mean, I understand she's worrying, but she is kind of worrying too much, and Dylan calls her a warrior, and Emma ends up kissing Dylan. He kissed her back and then smiled. The two try to gain their composure. He says he's going to be known as the guy who hit on her before she got her new lung transplant, and the two hug, and I definitely feel like this is setting up a relationship between the two. I think these two are definitely going to get together next season. And we see that Emma knows that she's going to get that transplant and that they have something special together. So next season, that's where Emma's going. She's going to get her transplant. I just, spit everywhere. That was disgusting. But she's now going to get her new transplant, and she's going to be able to get that transplant that she wants. And basically, she's going to live. So I thought that was great that we saw it. And now maybe her and Dylan might have a future together. I mean, I really don't know. It kind of left it open for us possibly thinking maybe they have a future, maybe they don't. We'll have to see what happens there, and I thought that was really well done. I have to say, I thought that was great, and I loved what happened between Emma and Dylan. I thought that was overall really great. However, the next thing I want to talk about is Romero. Not so much the whole thing with Norman and Norman, because there is stuff going on there, but I really want to talk about Romero's plot, because I thought Romero had some huge stuff this episode. Honestly, Romero's stuff was absolutely huge, I have to say. I mean, if there's any character that's changed the most besides Norman, it's Romero. I mean, Romero really has been such a big, different kind of character this season that I really have been enjoying, I do have to say. I know some people are saying, oh, it's boring, but it was nothing. The drug war was so much more boring than this was. This was so much more interesting because we're seeing Romero kind of go to this journey of being a dirty cop, and we kind of see this in this episode. Because in the beginning of this episode, we see the DEA is beginning to close in on arresting Bob Paris. That's basically what they want to do. They want to arrest him. And Romero visits Norma in the motel, and he says he's not apologizing for turning over the flash drive to the DEA because it was the right thing to do. Because, Bob Paris getting arrested, they can get out of this. However, he clearly regrets the state of the relationship and says he wishes he could protect her more, and I like seeing that he does still care about her. I knew he did, and I like seeing that in the scene because it kind of seemed like he didn't really want anything to do with her, but here we see that he does care about her, and I really loved seeing that he does still care about her. I thought that was really good. Especially the state they've been in the past few episodes, I thought it was really great that we saw that he does genuinely care for her, and I thought that was really well done. I have to say that was great. And she gives this great speech about her son and how she's scared of him and how she doesn't really know who he is, but that she loves him, that she can't get away from him, and I thought that was a great speech, I have to say. And Vera Farmiga, as usual, amazing performance this episode, definitely. And she forgives Romero, and I was so happy that she did that because it seemed like she was never going to forgive him, but she does decide to forgive him, because honestly, it was over something silly. He did do the right thing. He turned in the flash drive, and now it seems like these two are on good terms, which I like seeing. I'm happy that they're on good terms, but my fear is now they're going to get together next season, and knowing what happened at the end of this episode, I definitely feel like they're going to get together next season, and shit's about to go down next season. We'll see what happens, though. Because then we get the crazy stuff in the episode, because the DEA is on their way to arrest Bob Paris at his home. Romero decides that he doesn't want this to happen. He doesn't actually want Bob Paris arrested, because he calls Bob to warn him about the DEA coming. And I'm like, what are you doing? Like, why don't you want him arrested? And he tells me he has 10 minutes to escape them. So I'm really trying to figure out what Romero is actually doing here, because I don't exactly know what he's trying to do. And Romero then confronts Paris down by the docks as Bob's, running away. And knowing that Bob has a ton of money in his bag to take with him, and knowing that if Bob were dead, Norma would be safe, which, yeah, she would be, Romero then takes this dark path. And Bob's telling Romero that he's become just like his father, and is only doing this for his personal gain, and that tells Romero, I gotta kill him. He kills him, he shoots him to death in the neck, and he's now rich, and Norma's now safe, and everything's back to normal. So he did all of that just for Norma, and I thought that was amazing that we saw that. I never thought that Romero would really do something like that for Norma, but now they're on such good terms, I think that's why he really did that, and I thought that was awesome that he did that. I love that, and I thought overall that was really well done. And I'm really interested in seeing what's going to happen with Romero now. I mean, is Norma going to take this money? Is she going to be happy to take it? Is she going to be, worried about what happened to Romero? Because now he killed someone. So obviously, he's not going to stay. Obviously, it wasn't a justified killing. So what he did, he is now a dirty cop. And he already was a dirty cop. But I'm pretty sure he doesn't really care about being a sheriff anymore. I think he cares about Norma, and that's his main concern, is protecting Norma. That's what he cares about now. But I guess we'll have to see what happens next season, because that was crazy, I have to say. I love that, but it was really crazy. So, then we see the stuff with Norma and Norman, and holy shit, this was amazing. I love what they did here. I love what they did with this plot, and I just thought everything about it was fantastic. So, we see that very quickly, in the beginning of the episode, Norma has arrived in a mental hospital. At first glance, it appears to be quite a normal place, and Norma sits down with a woman. She just wants to see if it's normal, because she always was concerned about getting Norman this help. But now she sees that these hospitals aren't something for Norman to be worried about. They're actually a good place for him. They could keep him safe, and Norma sits down with this woman who wants to know Norman's condition and refusing referring doctor. Now, Norma can't really answer these questions, and she tells the woman that she's just looking into this right now, and she hasn't made any decisions. And Norma asks if she can visit him, and the answer is yes, and the cost of the hospital is covered by insurance and varies depending on the condition of the patient. And the minimum charge is $529 a night for room and board, and there are treatment plan changes for most patients. It ranges from $20 to $40, $1,000 a month. So the key is her insurance, and Norma turns down the offer. She looks stunned at the cost. I mean, it is a pretty crazy cost, and it is pretty unreasonable, but she does want to make I like that she is trying to make an effort to get Norman that help. That's something I definitely like seeing. And she's not relying on James to do that, because that whole thing, she even admits in the episode that it was silly what she did there, and I thought it was kind of funny that she thought it was silly, but I like that she is trying to get Norman the help, because he definitely does need it, and I thought that was really good. So Bradley returns home, steals money and jewelry from her mother, then smashes some of the glass door and chandelier. Of course, we know that Bradley is planning on leaving town, and we find out very quickly in the episode what she wants to do here. Because she's back in the motel, she tells Norman that she broke into her mom's house, and they should leave soon, get on the road, and Bradley asks Norman if he can be ready to go that night, sneak out while his mother's asleep. And I think, again, the thing is that she's really trying to make up for that time that she was really rude to him, and now she's trying to prove to him that she genuinely does care about him. But, of course, Norman's not thinking about that. He's thinking about his mother. He's thinking about, what his mother thinks, and he says that he doesn't know how he can leave his mother, and Bradley is saying, I'll be out there if you need me, I'll be out there if you change your mind, and all of a sudden, Norma drives up to the motel, and he announces that he has to leave, and Bradley tells Norman that she's leaving after dark, and he knows where to find her if he changes his mind. So, already I'm like, this is going to be insane, because we know the state that Norman's in right now, and we know this is not going to turn out well. So Norman leaves the room, runs up the stairs to his house to see his mother, and he has to basically pretend that everything's okay, and inside he asks his mom where she was, and she says she ran errands, and Norma asks Norman to talk for a minute, and she tells him that she's worried about him. The blackouts are definitely getting worse, and she tells him about the help that she wants again. And Norman tells her that he's not in school anymore, and he doesn't drive, and she has nothing to really be concerned about. And Norma explains that she thinks that he needs more help from real doctors, and she wants him to be safe. And there's therapy, there's medication, they have never looked into it. And in fact, she has been very scared to look at this. I like that she admits that she was scared to look at this, because she was. She always thought of it as nothing, she always thought what's going on with Norman as not a big deal. Not a big deal. And finally this season, she's actually taking action, and I love that. That's something I've loved about the season. It's character development from Norma. She's gone from this really, not very powerful woman to a very strong one, I have to say. I mean, her transition from Season 1 to Season 3, she's a lot more powerful now, and she is not afraid of getting this help from Norman, which is awesome. So, she explains that she thinks he needs more help, and basically, she's been very scared, but she's more scared not to do this. She wants to do this for him, and now she knows that she can. She goes on to say that there are places that can help him, and she went to one, and Norman's furious at her because he wants nothing to do with this, obviously. He's really pissed that she did this, and he's telling her that he's glad they had this talk. And he's, the thing is, though, Norman, it's not a mental institution, it's just therapy. And he sees where she stands. She's given up on, he pretty much thinks that she's given up on him at this point, which she kind of has in a way, but she hasn't. And Norman leaves the room, goes upstairs, and I thought that was a really sad scene, I have to say. Definitely a very game-changing scene. I mean, their relationship has really changed a lot, definitely. Ever since he asked her that question of, is it okay for me to think of you sexually, their relationship has really changed, and you see that here. So, basically, after this, we see, he believes she's given up on him, and he then retreats to his room. And after this, we basically see that she we then see that he goes upstairs to get his suitcase, and this is when things get insane, because he gets into a scuffle with, Norma gets into a bit of a scuffle with Norman, and he's trying to run away. And Norma's like, who are you running away with? And Norma falls down the stairs, ends up knocking out Norman, and it's a crazy scene, and she's dragging him to the basement, and he's saying he's going on, going with Bradley, but of course she thinks that Bradley's dead because of that suicide note. She pretty much thought that Bradley died last season. She doesn't think that Bradley's still alive. And she doesn't know all about, how Bradley's still alive and things like that. So she drags him to the basement, ties his arms and feet together. She then calls Dylan to come and help her after locking Norma in the basement. She has no idea what's going on. She's hallucinating and she thinks she's going crazy. I like that Dylan did admit that he knew that Bradley was alive because he needed to show her that she wasn't crazy. That, yes, Norman is telling the truth of some things and that she's not going crazy and that some things he's saying, they are true. And I like that he did tell her that, you should trust Norman. I thought, that he knew about that because he wanted to know that he wasn't just going crazy, that he was, telling the truth about some things. But of course, he is going crazy at this point because basically he does decide to go with Bradley. He manages to untie himself and crawl out the window to run away with Bradley because he pretty much has given up on Norma at this point. He wants nothing to do with her. But of course, this is probably the worst time he could have left with Bradley because of course he's having these blackouts and he's now recently seen these visions of his mother. And it happens again here. He decides to leave with Bradley. He starts having hallucinations in the car ride, and it seems like everything's going well until he starts having these hallucinations. And, she's like, you gotta talk to Bradley. You gotta tell her what's going on. You gotta let me talk to her. He believes his mother's trying to talk to him. She tells him that she wants to speak with Bradley. And Bradley's like, what the fuck are you talking about? She's just like, what are you talking about? I have no idea what you're saying, which is understandable. Norman agrees to let her talk to Bradley. He tells Bradley to pull the car over and then grabs the wheel. Norman has now become Norma, and this scene is insane. She attacks Bradley, chasing her out of the car, and Bradley dies for getting her head smashed on a rock over and over again by Norma, and when Bradley dies, Norman realizes what he's done, but of course, he's no longer sane. He now has this normal personality, and he has gone fully psycho, and now we have gotten to the point where Psycho has started, and I love it, because he's now like, Mother, what have you done? Drives a car to the water with Bradley in the trunk before submerging the car into the water with Bradley's body in it, opens the trunk, apologizes to her dead body. Norman tells her he's sorry that his mother did this to her, and we then see the episode ends with Norman watching Bradley's car singing in the water. It's very, reminiscent of episode 1 when we saw that car in the water. I kind of feel like that's what they were trying to show here. So we see the car sing in the water, and he imagines his mother is right there with him, and basically she's saying him that you knew that she'd tear us apart, and nothing's gonna tear us apart, and that we'll always be together. And it's so creepy, and she tells him I'll never be apart, and she puts his head on his shoulder. It's really creepy, and that's how the episode ends. So, what an amazing finale. Oh my god, so much has changed in this finale, and I loved every single minute of it. That is how you do a game-changing finale, honestly. Because now Norman has the Norma personality. He's officially Norma. He officially can't go back to it. He now can't control when it happens, and I love that. Because in Season 1, he knew what he did. He had those blackouts, of course, but he knew what he was doing was wrong. And of course, he did see visions of Norma every now and again, but now it's become constant, and now he's fully turned into Norma, and I loved it. I love seeing that happen to Bradley. I mean, it was so sad to see, but seeing Bradley dead like that, oh my god, what an amazing way to end the episode. And I'm happy that Bradley died, not Emma, because Bradley returned, and now she's dead. And I can understand why they brought her back. They brought her back because she was important in Norman's life, and it was really trying to show how much Norman has changed from then till now. So, let's talk about next season. Is Norma gonna find out that Norman did this? Obviously, she's gonna freak out if he did this. She's gonna try to give him the help. He clearly does not want the help right now, though, because, she offered it before, and he's like, I don't want your help. So, we'll see what happens next season. Obviously, he doesn't really want help from her, but we'll have to see what happens. What's going to happen with Dylan? I feel like Dylan's going to play a much bigger role in Norman's life and try to help out Norman, but Dylan, I feel like, is going to die next season. I feel like definitely Dylan's dying. I mean, Bradley's now died. She was a major character. Now Dylan's going to die. I suspected a big character was dying. Bradley was a big character. While she might not be anymore, she was a big character from seasons 1 to the beginning of season 2. She was a huge character. She was a big part of Norman's life. She didn't want anything to do with Norman. Now that she's come back, he has killed her, and it really shows how much he has changed. And I just can't believe that he killed her. I can't believe it. Romero. How is Norma going to react to Romero killing Bob Paris? Is she going to be happy about it? Is he going to get her the fortune that she wants? Is he going to be able to protect her? Is Norma safe now? My worry now is that Norma and Romero are going to get together, and Norman's going to kill Romero as the Norma personality, because the Norma personality is going to tell him that no one can take him away from her. So obviously, the Norma personality is going to be like, you can't take it, no one can take you away from me, and it's going to kill Norman, Romero, and I definitely feel like it's going to happen next season, which I hope doesn't happen, but I know it's going to happen. Dylan and Emma, I definitely feel like they're getting together now. I feel like definitely after this episode that they have to get together. I hope they do. I love these two together. I hope Emma does get the right transplant. I hope all does go well for her. Definitely, I think she's going to be the only person next season that actually has a happy storyline, because everyone else is going to have this really depressing storyline. Now that what's happened with Norman is happening, things are going to get crazy next season. She is about to go down. I love every single minute of it. Absolutely, I love it. I just love what they're doing with Norman's character. I have to say, this was the best season of the show, definitely. I mean, it was so intense. It constantly had Psycho references. It kept up with the show. It got us to the point of Psycho, to a Bates Motel that we wanted to get to. And this is something that I've been waiting to see all season long. And finally, we've seen the Norma personality. It's finally come full circle. And that's why I love this season so much. And also, it amped up the tension. Everything was interesting this season. We had the great storyline between Dylan and Caleb. And then we had the whole thing with Romero and Bob Paris. And nothing was boring. Everything was interesting this season. That's something I loved about this season. That everything was interesting. Nothing I was like, I don't really care about this. I was interested the entire time. I loved the entire season. I thought it was a great season. It's probably going to be my top 10 best shows of the year. I think it was an amazing third season. I can't wait for next season. Next season is going to be fucking crazy. I know it's going to be. I can't wait to see what happens next season. I really don't know what's going to happen next season. After what happened with Norman, I really don't know what's going to happen. I guess we'll have to see what happens. But let me know what you guys thought of this finale. Overall, guys, absolutely love this finale. I cannot wait to see season 4. I don't know where we're going, but I mean, I know where we're going. It's going to be Norman now turning into Norma, and he's going to be fucking crazy now, because obviously, he can't control the Norma personality now. My only complaint is that we did not get the line, we all go a little mad sometimes. If they teased in the promo, they were going to get it, and we never got it, and I wish we would have gotten it. I definitely feel like we're getting that next season, though, which I think is going to be awesome. I think there's going to be at least 2 more seasons, and then we're going to get to the Psycho part of the show, which I can't wait for, and I think that was awesome. So that's basically my review. Hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you guys thought of the finale. What you think of this season overall? And I'd love to hear your thoughts on the finale. What do you think of Bradley dying? Do you think it was the right character to kill? I think Bradley was totally the right character to kill. That's my review, and I'll see you guys in the next video, which will be my review for a classic movie review. So I will see you guys for that. Okay, bye.